Hello, my name is Tshidi, Madia. I'm from Team EWN, the politics desk at Eyewitness News. I want to speak about the budget that was not tabled by Minister Enoch Gondongwana. Of course, the big story of the week would have been the budget. He was expected to deliver the budget policy statement, proposals really, of what needs to be done in order to meet some of the priorities that President Ramaphosa outlined during his SONA. The way forward, the way of bringing those to life, you need to match money to those plans. And this is what was vested in that budget that was to be delivered. It did not go ahead. One of the reasons why it didn't go ahead is because there was a clash over one aspect of the budget, and it's the issue of VAT. We had been hearing murmurs, rumors, speaking to people, and hearing that there was going to be a hike in value added tax. This, if you listen to all parties, would cripple households in the country. It is a massive issue where South Africans are already burdened by this economy, and they simply cannot afford to be asked to dig deeper as far as VAT is concerned. So that was part of the context that we went into Wednesday with. The minister then doesn't go ahead and table a budget. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Togo Tshidi, are actually confirming that the budget will be postponed. We now know it will be postponed until the 12th of March, explaining that there was a disagreement within the Government of National Unity. So the coalition partners could not see eye to eye as to what needed to happen. Again, one key issue, it's that VAT issue. Now, the big question that many are asking is whether or not this postponement should have happened. Those who argue against the postponement say it should have gone ahead because, unlike when the ANC enjoyed full power, had over 50%, where what the ANC says goes because they've got parliamentary majority, this time around, this process wouldn't be so clear cut. The speech would not be final. There would be amendments that could possibly be made. So people who say, table the speech, allow the country to hear what the minister wants to say as far as the budget proposal is concerned. It could be amended, it could be tinkered with through parliamentary processes. The other school of thought that is pro the postponement has made an argument that this is what's best for the country. It's best for GNU partners to find one another, arguing that if the budget had gone ahead as it was, the proposal, the processes of making amendments would simply be too laborious. So they believe that that's what they're trying to avoid. Of course, opposition feels that the country is being held ransom to GNU politics, to coalition politics, and they, as expected, as opposition, one expects opposition to reject this, saying that in the interest of democracy, it needed to go ahead. Well, we are here now. It did not go ahead. There's a big question also about whose victory this is, right? The DA has been very quick off the mark to claim this as a DA victory. The DA is really good at PR and marketing. Never ever get that wrong. But I do think that they must be given credit for recognizing an opportunity and going for the jugular. The DA says it rejected the hike in VAT and saying that as a result, this matter couldn't go ahead. I don't think it was just the DA. I think there were people in the ANC who were also against it. Many people in the ANC found it unacceptable. But in the same breath, I must say there are some in the ANC who feel the minister is in a corner and there is no other way around dealing with the lack of money. Ultimately. So there are people who agreed with him, but the DA is saying that it is them. But other political parties actually disagreed with the idea of a VAT increase. What the DA, I think, did really spectacularly was read the moment correctly, is that other parties are in disagreement. They're also saying this is a red line. Some in the ANC are also unhappy. There were threats even from, again, members, that even some in the caucus would go against their own party in defiance because the ANC, and I'll speak to that a little bit later, recognized that if this had gone through as it was, that is sending the ANC to the grave. So there is a recognition. But I want to go back to the DA. I think the DA has done a stellar job in recognizing that in refusing to be a bystander in the GNU, it needed to find something to use as a leverage, a stick, right? It's been screaming and shouting, saying the ANC doesn't recognize it. It's been screaming and shouting, asking to be consulted on particular decisions, feeling left out. It found something very crucial at the right time to use as a beating stick to get its way, and that was the budget. So I do think you must give the DA kudos for recognizing and taking an opportunity like this. It was a risky move, but I think it's played out. And I do think that it might change, maybe for a little while, the way the ANC relates to the DA and other GNU partners, as, again, in the short term at least, because it's really brought to life the idea that it can use the budget to have its own back on the ANC. In fact, if you listen to several media briefings by the DA in the lead up to this, they had been warning that they would look to the budget to also prove a point to the ANC. Now, for the ANC, I think this is a massive teaching moment. It is a moment of reckoning, if you may. The ANC has been proudly proclaiming that even at 40%, it's been able to amass power, which is true. It's been able to almost continue like they did not get 40% at the polls, almost behave as if South Africans still supported. They don't have that majority. They might have the most votes, but they don't have a clear majority. And I think that a moment like this reminds the ANC that you are only a 40% party, that you must be able to consult, you must take people on this journey with you. So it'll be interesting to see what the ANC does, because when the ANC joined majority, even if a few of them would have maybe been voices of dissent, majority would follow a party line. This, believe me, would have passed. More so because, again, murmurs, rumors, the minister had said to the top officials of the ANC that if they don't allow this, he would quit, because he reckons he's in a corner. He needs billions and billions. South Africa is in the red. South Africa is in trouble financially. He needs tons of money. I think you're looking at a 60 billion rand deficit in this period that he needs to find, and there's nowhere where the money is. So I think the minister making those threats, he would have been heard. And maybe this would have gone through if the ANC enjoyed full might. The fact that it doesn't, again, is an important moment that the ANC must recognize. I also think that while we wait for the 12th of March and for the GNU parties to find one another, there's a greater conversation to be had about the issues where they differ on, right? So there is a mechanism called the clearinghouse where they're meant to find one another and resolve their differences before they come to government. However, often the clearinghouse kicks in after conflict has arose in the government space. So they differ in government, then they kick something to the clearinghouse. The clearinghouse hasn't actually produced anything well worth noting as it stands. And part of the reason why is because it's being led by Deputy President Paul Mashatile, who's not trusted by some of the GNU partners. So for me, this mechanism that's meant to conflict resolve should actually take place before they get to government, so that when there are issues of differences at government level, they're resolved in a much smoother pace, that the country is not shocked to see a budget speech not taking place. So that's something that I do think from a party level they do need to recognize. I did say to you, the DA knew how to take and to make the most of an opportunity, so they're doing that. If you're looking around, there are posters everywhere, they're taking this as a DA win, but it's not a DA win. Several political parties opposed this. Some in the ANC opposed this, because also if this went through, as I said earlier, the ANC would have been signing the obituary for its own funeral. The ANC is not confused. It's going to local government elections. It's in a bad place as it is. The ANC has so much work to be done to rebuild, and most of us don't think that it can, in part because many in the ANC don't seem to realize it's a 40% party, and that its losses in the metros, where it's governing via coalition, are a signal of what's to come. I don't see them being able to reverse the losses. In fact, I see them very much embroiled in internal issues and not dealing with the bigger picture. So this, for me, as I said earlier, is a moment of reckoning for the ANC. There's a need to go back to the drawing table. We always say that they're good at self-diagnosis. It's got to go beyond that. They've got to get to a point where the 2027 succession debate, internal fractions, aren't the bigger picture for that party. The way forward, I spoke about the clearinghouse. That mechanism has to be tightened. It has to work better. I think the DA should be given a clap, because they found a thing, right? They're not walking away, but they found a thing to hold the ANC to account, to hold the ANC to its promises. Only a matter of time will tell us how they navigate the space. The 12th of March and that budget will tell us what the way forward is. What I'm struggling with are solutions, by the way. While some might celebrate having the budget postponed this week, celebrating the rejection, in essence, of a VAT hike in this budget, what they're not recognizing, or what we're not talking about enough, is what's the alternative. Because South Africa, I've got news for you. No matter what happens, it's bad news nonetheless. It is conversations of austerity, it is cutting, and those things have dire consequences for the teachers I spoke about, the nurses, the doctors, those who are looking for fees. The consequences of whatever happens will be felt by all of us in one way or another. The minister isn't wrong to say that he's in a corner. And whether you say he's in a corner because of bad decisions that lead up to this moment, or you blame it on just one party, it doesn't matter. We are here now. And the plans that I'm hearing a lot are long-term plans. Reconfiguring this and that, those are not things that can happen now. South Africa needs money now. So I think austerity will be with us. I think you must fast bait, read as a country, and wait for the 12th of March. What will be presented should be what they agree upon, but I think it will be painful nonetheless.